Right, good morning everyone. Thanks so much for all your questions. I know it's a bit of a difficult time at the moment for everyone, so I thought we'd try and do something to keep everyone entertained on the Saturday. So I'm always a little bit curious when I do things like this and I invite questions in. There's always some donut who wants to ruin it, but from having a quick look and a quick glance at the questions you sent in, they're very good. So well done, everyone. So we'll go through them as many of them as I can. There's about 3 pages worth here, 2.5, no, 3 pages. There's some quite difficult ones. They're going to be quite challenging, especially the one about my relationship with Scott. So that's going to be we have to think about, and I think that one's last actually. So I've got a good 10 minutes to think about a good lie to try and get myself out of trouble. Okay, so let's go from the top. So the first question I got on here is what made you join Yeovil, and that's from Lewis or Louis B from who sent it in on Twitter. What made me join Yeovil? Well, listen, first of all, I was an unemployed football manager. I had a disastrous time at Watford, real life-changing experience. And I applied for 2 jobs. I'm not really one of those that throws in CVs here, there and everywhere. So applied for 2 jobs, went for an interview with the other one, and I believe was in probably the last 2 or 3, a Football League club. And obviously applied for this job. I first of all applied, if I'm being totally transparent, when Darren Way was sacked, and met the what was then going to be the new owners, and met them a couple of times. It was really interesting. Made very clear to me that Neil was going to be the manager till the end of the season, which was obviously their prerogative. Carried on watching from afar. Went to quite a few games. I was at the Northampton game. That it was a real horrible experience. Even from someone who had at that time no kind of emotional ties of it was a real disappointing day on what could have been a really good performance and a very good win after 20 minutes. So I carried on with that. Then obviously you all went through the situation of that not going through. So I carried on, persevered, spoke to John Fry a few times. John invited me down for an interview. I believe I was on a short list, and interviewed, and must have been a completely different character that day because everyone liked me. So it was, and I think I was the resounding choice. Whenever I was there, and this might come out again in another question, but whenever I came to Yeovil and we played, I came with Stevenage. Always felt a real sort of energy and intensity in the stand. Always felt when I walked out, I had a little browse in the warm up, or even was taking the warm up. I think back in that time at Stevenage, that there was a real sort of aggression and expectation to the supporters, which I really liked, and I always knew going back into the dressing room that our players would have to be very motivated. I used to come with Brentford when Andy Scott was the manager. I think Terry was the manager at the time. I just remember Terry wearing these stupid Converse trainers with his tracksuits, and I used to think, what's that ginger clown doing these stupid Converse trainers? So I have to find a way to insult Terry. You've got to understand this. But that was a really good side Terry had there. I think it was Terry who was manager, Ryan Mason and people like that. I always just felt that energy in the stand, and that stayed with me. It's obviously a lovely ground. It is a proper football ground, and there was lots of things. Somerset, giving my family a different way of life, living in a different part of the country. Even though my wife and I seem to have done pretty much the length and breadth of the UK now. And I just wanted the opportunity to manage a team that obviously was going to be in the National League, but had an expectation of, high expectations, had a good tradition, wonderful fan base, big fan base, which is always, at Stevenage, never really changed the amount of fans, even when we was doing really well, and even again when when we wasn't doing so well. But also it was a really, really good traditional club, and don't like really doing things the easy way. And I thought, no players, and Terry talks about it being kind of the worst situation to come in. To me, it was the best situation because one, I didn't have to fire anyone. All I had to do was add layers. I thought it was a real interesting, attractive challenge, and because of that, I went full steam ahead and did my best, and obviously was very, very lucky to be appointed. So hope that answers your question, Louis, or Lewis, however you say it. Good question. It's tough. I didn't realise I talked so much nonsense and how long I was going to talk for. The football question, this from Comrade Lucas: what's your process in choosing the formation of the team? I.e., players available first, or tactical awareness of the team we're up against. Let me dispel that one straight away. I don't care who we're playing, or what shape they play, or who their players are. You hear this saying a lot. It's all about us. It's what it's about what we do. It's a very old-fashioned saying. It's very true, and it's very important. I just think until you get the best of what you have, or you can get the best out of what you have, it's irrelevant who you're playing. Because even if you have got your ideal 11 in the wrong shape, you got your 11 best individuals in the wrong shape, we got the wrong dynamic and balance. If you're not optimal, the opponent's going to beat you. No matter who it is. We've seen this year, we play teams that only train twice a week, and we train 4 times a week. The obvious thing is, well, they're only part-time. Doesn't matter. If the team balance and harmony isn't right on the day, or in that form, or in that moment, doesn't matter who you play. It really doesn't. So I always look at what we have. So I'll give you an insight. Before we went on the 7-game winning run, we played Notts County. We had no time. I think we played on the Monday away at Dagenham. I think we did get beat 3-2, and we put out what we had in positions that were going to be as comfortable for them as possible. Played really well on the day. Got a bit fortunate here and there with a few chances, but the dynamic there felt right. So we were optimal. The opponent was less optimal than us. We get the win. It's always about how much you can get out of the players. Always about how much you can try and enhance what you have within your walls, and that's why you get runs of form, periods of invincibility as such. We've experienced that this year, and with that 7-game run, we've had a couple of really great runs where if you can keep that ticking over and you can keep that dynamic. And it's hard because human nature is not consistent in any way. You do a couple of wins, you get confident. What does confidence end up to? It ends up to complacent. You go the other way and you get beaten a couple of times. What does that end up becoming? That becomes anxiety. That becomes fear. So it's all for me. It's all about what I can get out of their players. I'm not responsible for what the opponent does. I'm only responsible for what I do with my lads, and the training in the week, and what we ask Terry, the coach, and Darren Betcher, etc., etc. So for me, what do we have? How quickly can we get them in their most natural position? Sometimes, if you look at our shape this year, we've pretty much played the same shape for 30 odd games now, but we've played it 3 different ways. And that's been based on who's available, who's injured. I have to play it differently with Dickinson in the side than if I had Miles Hippolyte playing left back, for example, which we had. So it's you've got to always tweak and try and amend things. But that's the bit I enjoy the most. That's the journey that I always talk about, and that journey is that math problem, that formula that you have to solve all the time. Get a suspension, you got to learn again, and you got to try and find another solution or another answer to that formula. So that's the bit I enjoy the most. It's probably the most. It's probably the biggest topic of debate in our room. Terry and I argue like you cannot believe. We end up shouting. Then I remind him it's my office and he can't shout at me in my office. He hates that, by the way. Absolutely hates it. But who cares? He's the assistant, isn't he? So, tough tell. So that's what we do. That's what we do. Always look at what we have. Always look at what we have. From everything, set plays, to our patterns of play, our strategy for that game, etc., etc. And when you find that real kind of moment, you got gold dust, absolute gold dust. It becomes like a freight train. It just flies through, and it's a brilliant place to be. It's a brilliant place to be. Good question, that, comrade. Very good. Favourite moment as Yeovil manager so far? I've very much enjoyed. That's by Ben Lloyd. I very much enjoyed Solihull away. Maybe because it was when Scott took over. Maybe because it was, you know, the kind of duress we were under with Liam coming off injured and Luke going in goal. Luke having already scored the goal. Luke making a save. We played very well that day. Passed the ball beautifully on a lovely pitch. It was a lovely hot day as well. And that moment at the end, it just paused. The whole thing paused. It was a great feeling amongst the fans. You were excited because Scott had long-awaited takeover had gone through. All sorts of things. I think Ava, my daughter, had just been born. There's loads. But that moment at the end with the supporters, you know how much I very much enjoy that, and hopefully you can see that when I'm running around like an emotional wreck, throwing my arms up and down. So no, that was a good one. I really did enjoy that one. Eastleigh at home, the first win's always a nice one. But I just think, all things considered, I enjoyed the Solihull away one. I thought we played well as well. I thought it was a good performance. Good question, that, Ben. When did you first decide you wanted to be a football manager and why? I didn't really want to be at the start. I went into coaching at a very young age. Took up my first session when I was 13. By the time I was 17, I had 3 out of 4 of the coaching badges. I just wanted to be a coach, wanted to develop players, wanted to work with teams. Thought I'd probably settle as an assistant. But once you get in the habit of writing a team sheet, even if it's the under-18s or the reserve team. Okay, I think this is probably the best one up so far on this on all these questions, because I think it's the thing I relate to the most in my first year at Yeovil. So when we're talking about most challenging moment as manager so far, that's from Ben Collier. We put it on Facebook. I always think the toughest thing in my job is expectation. So at Stevenage we had a run of 13 games. I think we won 11. Last 9, I think we only won 3. We were 4th. We should never have been 4th. We had 15th, 16th best budget. We had a Yeovil budget, really. We had a small budget. And we were 4th, and we'd just beaten Portsmouth 3-0 at home. We eventually won it. We were above Luton. They went up. They lost in the playoffs. They'll think that's a dig, Luton fans, won't they? And even here with the 7-game winning run, very, very hard to manage expectations. I can remember, standing on the sideline for me in the technical area at Yeovil. I remember us getting booed off. We drew 0-0 at home to Solihull. I remember we getting booed off. Now, it was a bad game. I mean, I was booing it inside, definitely, but we were second in the league. I think expectations, when they get high, it's very, very hard to manage as a manager. I think it's near enough impossible. And you can come up with all the clever words of wisdom via your press and your media and this and that, and it's a waste of time. It's just really, really hard. It takes a real sort of presence of mind, especially in the emotion of a match day. Especially, for a supporter, you come in, you have a couple of drinks, you have a couple of pints, and you want to be entertained. I completely get that. But that managing of the expectations is very, very tough, really, really tough, and something I don't think there's an answer to. I really don't. You can't just keep winning. No one just keeps winning, and that's the only way you can answer it, is by keeping winning. When you win 7 in a row, anything other than a win on the 8th game is pretty disappointing. So it's really hard. It's really hard. I can remember one point in the season. One of the staff come up to me and Yeovil and said, "Do you know there's people that want you sacked. I think we were fourth, fifth, might not one in a couple, maybe three, maybe only 1, 2 in 10 or whatever like that. But that expectation is very, very difficult. It's really, really difficult, and it's difficult for supporters, I think, to understand as well what goes on inside a manager, really, and that will be there forever. I think that'll always be the hardest thing, the most difficult moment. I've had loads of things like failed drug tests and people who have got gambling addictions and all sorts, sex addicts. There's been all sorts during my career. I've had families that are on the cusp of big volatile breakups, alcohol involved, and all sorts. Having to go in and grab lads and look after them and stuff like that. It's been all sorts over the last. I think I've done it 18 years now. So I've had a varied range. But as a manager, as a football manager, managing expectations hard. That's when you really need people to see the wood through the trees. It's hard for a manager at times to see the wood through the trees when you're not doing great. But you definitely need them supporters. 100% you need your supporters behind you when you're having that little wobble, and you'll have it every year in some way or form. You'll quantify it every year as a wobble, and the smaller that wobble, obviously the more successful you're going to be. Good question, that, Ben. We've got that one off my chest. You could feel the emotion. I'm sure you could. What your memories coming up against Yeovil when you were Stevens manager? Like I said, I always felt that anticipation in the stand, the aggression, the intensity. I think one year we had 2 draws. We had a 0-0 at Stevenage, which was horrible, disgusting game of football. And then the following year, I think we drew 2-2 at home. The reason I remember that so well is that whoever scored a very, very hefty, deflected, late equaliser at the Lamix, he ran off Charlie Lee, and I hammered Charlie Lee for the last 3 years over it. Actually, I sacked him for it, so it was disgraceful the way he let him run off the shoulder. So I've hammered Charlie for years on that one. Probably cost us the playoffs, Chaz. I hope you know that. And then I think we drew 1-1 right at the end of the season at Yeovil. I think you scored first. Might have been Zoko. And Josh McCoy equalised for a second half at the Thatcher's end. I remember that. We was doing really well at the time. But always remember that intensity, that aggression. Always felt for the manager a little bit, because I thought, cool, you've got high standards as supporters, very high standards. Hard to live up to, very hard to live up to. So, but always remember that. And again, because of my character, that's something I like. I like it when people put it on you. I do like that. I think that raises some people. It doesn't raise everyone. I think some people can struggle with that. I always felt that was always going to make me better. How have you been spending your time without football? I've been at home. I've massively committed to the social distancing and isolation, and just with my family. And it's the first time I've been able to be dad during the football season, that's for sure. Spending lots of time with my family and my wife and my 2 children. I've got a young daughter. She's only 6 months old. She's a nightmare. Cries, screams. So I'm up at 2, 3 in the morning doing the feeds at the moment, because I used to use work as an excuse not to do them. So she's got me absolutely on toast at the moment, doing everything. I'm around the house, a bit of a housewife really. Just trying to keep busy. Okay, we'll try and without cutting corners, we'll try and get through this a little bit quicker, because Saturday's slowly disappearing for us all, and you're not going to get this time back listening to me, that's for sure. What the players doing to keep fit physically and mentally from Gavin? The only thing they can do, they're human beings, they've got to stick to the rules. So they can go running on their own, and they can talk to me. I wouldn't think there's much more they'd want with their life anyway than talking to me. And they've got to keep fit. It's their job to keep fit. I think they've been a wonderful group, a really wonderful group. Even as you've probably seen in the publications, we've all taken a 50% deferral on our wages, because we want to. For me, I can only speak from I want to support the club. I want to be here next year. I want to be here for years to come. And at the moment, the club needs us to stand up. You know, at times we need you, the supporters, to stand up. At times I need Scott to stand up. And right now, this club, Scott, needs us as players and management to stand up and do something for the club, rather than everyone doing something for us all the time. No problem whatsoever. If I didn't see my future at Yeovil, maybe I'd take a different perspective, but you know, I'm settled here. I love the football club. I really enjoy working with Scott. I think he's done a magnificent job, a very, very tough job. What he inherited, people don't realise. And it's our turn to support him. It's our turn to come out swinging for that, for this reason. So I think we're probably the first club to do this. We didn't advertise it, because that's not the type of people, the players or I am. We do things, we believe, with a moral compass, and we're doing it the right way. And you know, we all say all we want is people to try, and we want that real high work ethic. Well, you know, I wouldn't have thought the players would have to show by any action or evidence after this that how much they care for the football club. So I thought it was a wonderful thing. I spoke to them all; they were brilliant. And what they've got to do now, they've got to stay at home, and they've got to keep running. And you've got to get your trainers on. You've got to run on the road. You've got to get your headphones in, and you've got to stay focused. And you know, it's mentally that can be tough to get yourself out. But what else we can do? You know, if I can manage to get out and do an hour a day, they can get out and do an hour a day. You know, so I think it's important they keep fit. I think if we do come back, or when we come back, we'll be given time for me to absolutely run the pants off of them, and really work them hard. But you know, they've got to be doing it. I'm a manager. I trust players. I give players my trust. If they burn that trust, I don't get it back. But I trust players. I don't hound them. I don't do video calls. I speak to them one-on-one. Might have a group call with 2 or 3 of them every now and then, some of the senior players to maybe work with or talk or mentor some of the younger ones. But I trust my players. So I leave them alone. They're adults. They're grown men. And, you know, no one's ringing me every day to say, how are you? Are you feeling okay? So, you know, that's just my management style. There'll be some that are doing, well, we've seen it, FaceTime and YouTube videos of what the players are doing to keep fit. I don't think it's anyone's business. My attitude is they're grown men. This is what you need to do. Go and do it. If you don't do it, I'll deal with that situation when we come back. If you had to spend 1 year on a desert island with one member of the first team squad, who would you take? Well, I'm lucky here. That's from Harry. Harry, you've set me up there. Because any player I say, that player is going to get absolutely annihilated by the rest of the group. And when I say that this is a very, very harsh group of men, it is a harsh group of men. So you're lining me up here. But because Darren Betchett is a registered player, I'm going to say Darren Betchett, even though I don't really like him, and I would hate to have to look at him every day and hear his silly London voice every day. Yeah. What would he do? Throw stones for me to catch and things like that? Well, he's not the most interesting fella. Let me tell you, you wouldn't want to be stuck in a lift, let alone a desert island with him. So yeah, I'm gonna bail out on that one. I really am gonna bail out on that one. I'm gonna go with Betch. Other than that, I'll say a player that's not here anymore that was here. Sorry, mate. I'm really sorry. That's not too many times I shirk out of a challenge, but you don't realise what you're setting the player up for. How the injured players progressing at the moment? Yeah, good. I mean, if there's a silver lining to this situation in football, not in the world of health and medical. Terry calling me while I'm doing the video, it's ironic in it timing, is that there's an opportunity now to get some back fit. Lawson Diath in particular, maybe even Murph, Gold, Craig Alcock. If Craig Alcock can get away from the lunchtime menu at the football club, he might actually get fit. The silly sod. But yeah, that's kind of they're progressing. They get their programs. They do everything interactively with the physios. Lawson's seeing an outside specialist for his situation. I believe Murph might be having an operation today, just to clear his ankle out. But yeah, that the situation might be we might get those boys back now, which will be, will be a massive addition, as well as having Miles back, when we get back, because he was suspended for 3 games. After we realised he couldn't tackle, he got suspended for 3 games, and we'll have him back, and he'll be like a new player to us. Miles Hippolyte. So, what's the funniest moment you've had as manager? I don't know. There's not really too many. There's one good story. Charlie Lee and Luke Wilkinson remember this. When I first started working with Glenn Roeder, he thought my name was Dean for the first couple of months. So he was playing Oxford away, and Glenn would only be here for a couple of days. Charlie was injured, and the club captain Ronnie Emery was a wonderful player for Stevenage. Very Terry Skiverton-like in terms of time and what he achieved and his personality and things like that. And he walked into the dressing room, and Glenn, like I said, only been there a couple of days, and I was caretaker at the time, and we'd been on a bad run, and Oxford I think was second. It was Michael Appleton's Oxford, and he walks in, he put his arm around Charlie and Ronnie and kind of looked into this long dressing room at the Kassam, and he said, "Where's Dean?" And Charlie and Ronnie said, well, "Dean Parrott's over there." And Dean Wells, who was another player, he's over there. Look, that's their shirts there. No. Where's Dean? Where's Dean? Well, Dean Parrott's there, and Dean Wells is over there. No. You're not getting it. Where's Dean? The gaffer, Dean. He told the worst person in the world by telling Charlie Lee that. So I got called Dean until the end of the season. Then I was appointed permanent manager, and they called me boss, which they started to. I think the old backside started to squeeze a little bit once they realised that I was going to be the manager. But yeah, he called me Dean. So the players used to shout out Dean, and I didn't know it was like that for about 2 months. And it got to the end of the season, and they were shouting Dean down the coach, and I realised the other ones are just, they're far too graphic to say on here, but they are funny, especially this group of players. They are funny. They're a funny group. Carl Dickinson stuffed Matt Worthington into a laundry basket in the sea down at Lyme Regis pre-season. That was pretty funny. Matt was just bouncing along on some of the waves in this laundry basket. That was pretty good. I'd only been there 5-6 weeks, and we went down the Lyme Regis, bouncing Matt Worthington up and down in this basket, and Matty, bless him, little pasty ginger head sticking out of the basket, bouncing up and down. That was quite a good one. But Glenn Roeder was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So it was probably the funniest moments. But like I said, I couldn't possibly share on here what those moments were. But getting called Dean, that's still gets a giggle from Chaz and Luke now. So, would you rather fight 1 horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? And that was on Twitter from Glove actually, and I've named him because it's such a. What are you thinking, mate? I'll fight 1 horse-sized duck, knock him out, and that's it. Done. 1 uppercut, left hook. Pretty much what I do to Skiverton every day, and he'll go down. Can you nominate 3 songs for my work colleagues to vote on for a work playlist? Sex on Fire, because I'm the absolute don of singing it. Slide Away, Oasis, and Mr. Brightside. They're 3 proper bangers. That was from Alex White. Is a strong youth academy and homegrown talent beneficial at this level? It's beneficial at every level. What people think is just because you've got an academy you have to play players. You don't. You've got as a manager, you've got to play players that are going to win you the game, and they've got to be good enough. And that's all anyone has to know about youth development, that they have to be good enough. If they're not good enough, they don't play. So it can be a very, very big expense to a football club if you don't ever get to the point where they're good enough to play. They do need time when they come out of the youth team. When I look at our young players, I think, as an example, where Gabby Rogers is now compared to where he was at the beginning of the season, as a man, as a professional, they're hundreds and thousands of miles apart. But I think you have to go through that learning. I think that the more experience and good characters you have in the squad, the quicker they get up to it. Gabby's had to take some proper talks, not just with me, not just with Terry, but with players. Dicko in particular, he's very good with him. And I love working with academies. That's my thing. I really like it helping Terry. I love working with the really young ones, the 9s, 10s and 11s. Love working with them. They're brilliant. They make football so real to me. And right back to the beginning, you can strip back all your coaching and take it right back. And I really enjoy that, because first team, it's just win over and over and over. Very intense, very stressful. Under 9s, just teach them how to play beautiful football. No risk, no consequence. Just enjoy, smile, have a laugh, work hard, love the game. It's the best part. So I think the academy is hugely important, but like I said, they have to be good enough. They have to be good enough, and the hardest thing in the world is to produce a young player to go straight in and win. I obviously sold one for over £1 million. He was 17 years old. He was a second-year scholar. I tell the story all the time. I dropped Luke Wilkinson, 3rd round of the FA Cup, to give him his debut. He was still an apprentice, but he was good enough, and he was the right player for that game. And he went on for over £1 million afterwards. I've had Alfie Mawson, who's out at Fulham, played for England. Carl Vassell's a championship player. Like I said, Luke Norris. Corey Smith was with me for years now at Bristol City. There's a few. I've got some wonderful testimonials for when obviously I applied for this job from big players, and players that I've been very fortunate to work with. That have gone on and had wonderful careers and earned a real life for themselves. So it's hugely important. I really enjoy it, but they've got to be good enough. It's not just because they're young, just because they're through the academy, doesn't give anyone a right to play. They have to be good enough. Unfortunately for me, I'm the one who decides if they're good enough. So you might think they're good enough. Unlucky. I'm the manager. Do you do any impressions? No. That's from Ian Watmore. Sorry, mate. Who would you pick for a fantasy football 5-a-side team? Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Schmeichel, Man United fan, Gazza, telling you, Brian Robson. What a team! You just won't mess with them, would you? They'd eat you up. They'd absolutely iron you out. Them 5. Used to love Brian Robson. What a man! What a man! Absolute the epitome of a proper man playing football. Him, Souness, Keane, those types. I used to love watching them. Gazza, I used to love watching Gazza. Obviously working with Glenn, I know everything about Gazza that I can know. Yeah. Right, we're back onto a good question by a friend of mine, and I didn't realise it was him, and I had to research it. So, what did Darren have to dress up on as on his stag do? It's a guy called Adam Tiller who I grew up with, an absolute idiot. I hope he watches this. Fathead. He's going to get an absolute battering. But I'll tell you the truth, because I'm an honest chap. We went to Valencia for my stag do, and my best mate for years and my brother were my best men, and my best mate who lived opposite me, and was closer. He's a brother really, like most best mates that you've grown up with. he brought all the outfits, and it was funny because we were going through Stansted, and he got his bag searched, and he had all these outfits in, and he looked like a cross-dresser, and so I got a little bit of an insight then to what was going to go on. So anyway, we get to Valencia, and my brother says to me, I've just booked the cheapest hotel as I could. It was cheap, it looks all right. So we get there, it's a 5-star hotel, it's unbelievable. Valencia are there eating their pre-match meal before a game. Ridiculous. So we get up, first night, I go in the room, and they dress me up as like a little girl on the prairie type thing, frilly like dress, like stockings up to my knees, hat on with the kind of the pigtails coming out. I look like an absolute, you can imagine, look like an absolute belter really. So anyway, do all this, put all stuff on my face, makeup, that lot. This is hurting me. This hurts stuff. This hurts me. Stuff like this. So go out the room, turn right to go to the lift, and the phone goes in the room. So I go back now to the phone. Excuse me, sir, but if the gentleman dressed as a woman walks down into the reception, you're all going to have to pack your bags and leave. I was absolutely buzzing, delighted. So I got changed, and I never had to go out of it. You know, bit of luck there. The 5-star thing helped me out there. I had the mayor or something in reception, and imagine me walking out. So I got away with that, and then the next day, in a horrendous state, you can imagine, horrendous. Went into Valencia and onto the beach, and they made me dress up. I think I had a pair of Superman boxer shorts on. I had a cape. I had some like marigold gloves. I had to wear a wig. So I had to topless. I just looked like an absolute idiot, but hey, you only live once. But it was good fun. It's something we all have to go through. It was good fun, and you know, I can't say I was too nice to these people on their stag do's. My best mate ain't had one yet, Tails. And when he does, he's dead, absolutely dead. But yeah, I've not been too nice to the stag over the years, so I probably got away with it, if I'm honest. Probably got away with it. Great stag do that until you're an arse, big massive arse. So you'll get a smack when I see you. Your favourite manager? Used to love Bobby Robson. God rest his soul. I thought Bobby Robson was. I think when people speak about you, the way they spoke about Bobby Robson, such love and affection and, you know, respect and his qualities. I used to absolutely love Bobby Robson. These days, I think Gareth is wonderful, the England manager. I think he's as consistent a guy as you could want as your England manager, which is a tough job. I love Pochettino. I think Pochettino is wonderful. I think a lot of these foreign coaches are like the coaches in England 20 years ago. I really believe that. They've got the same morals. I worked with a great coach at Watford for 8 months, Javi Gracia, who I still speak to. Top coach, great guy, gentleman. Like I said, just very similar. Glenn Roeder always speaks so well of Terry Venables, Glenn Hoddle, those types, which really I missed in my kind of coach development. Pochettino now, top guy. I had 45 minutes with him one-on-one. Top guy, great guy, and someone I'd really want to play for. Even 10 minutes with him, and if he'd have said up, jump, skip out of that window onto 50 feet below onto the floor, I wouldn't have thought twice. I'd have just done it. I thought he was a wonderful human being. But yeah, I'm a Man U fan really, all my life. But Bobby Robson, always thought he was top class. Won so many things in so many different countries. Have to learn all those languages, and yeah, top class. Right, last page. Chinese or Indian food? Chinese. Not too much of a fan of Indian food. Tel always wants to have an Indian, and I'm never too keen. Sorry about that. My head's that big. Yeah, I'm never that keen. But yeah, don't mind Chinese. Don't really have either, if I'm honest. But if I had to choose, it'd be Chinese. If the season has ended, what effect will that have on the academy? That's from Kevin Charles. If the season has ended, we're in the playoffs, and we'll be going through the playoffs. And if we get promoted, brilliant, because the Football League will obviously have a different proposition to us in terms of funding for the academy. If we don't go up, which I guess is what you're saying from your question, Kelvin, then that's a discussion to be had. But there's been no talk of anything other than pushing for promotion from now, and never really having to worry about that situation. We obviously have to have another year with the academy because the first year apprentices have become second year apprentices, and they have to fulfil their apprenticeship, quite rightly so. So the academy has to run in some way or form next year, whatever. Which team in the National League do you think has been the most technical and skillful? That's from Howard Batten. Look, I think the best team performance against us this year has probably been Hartlepool in the FA Cup. I thought it was a good performance against us. I thought Notts County were good when they came to us, quite rightly so. Big club, lots of money. I think probably Hartlepool have been the best performers against us over the 3 games. I was quite impressed with them on with 2 managers. I thought they were quite impressive on both of them. But like I said on the day, you have to be optimal, and you have to have your team right. And when we went up to Hartlepool and I changed the team, I thought Worthington needed a break, and it was the exact game we needed Worthington for. So sometimes it's the idiot manager, definitely make calls, and we get some right, we get some wrong. But I'd probably say Notts County played well against us in the league game. We won the game, but I thought they played well. I thought they showed good quality. But probably the best performance against this year has probably been Hartlepool in the FA Cup, in my opinion. Only in my opinion. What do you do to chill out in your spare time? From Dan Cope. I don't really get much time. I do like boxing. I love boxing. Like actually doing it, not watching it. So if I can get on the rope or have a spar, not a jacuzzi and a sauna spars in a like a practice fight. Ideally with Terry, but he always bottles it really. He's a melt, and I've dominated him for 8 months. I think the whole purpose of this interview is to wind him up as much as possible, because it's an easy one to do. Very, very easy. Terry wound up's funny, by the way, everyone. But no, I do like having a box. So we can get the pads. We've got pads and the body bag, and if we can have a bit of a release some pent up frustration and some anger, which is most days for me. We do that. Other than that, it's just the normal stuff. I've got to look after my family and see my family and spend time with my wife and all the stuff I have to say. No, I don't do anything really like that. But that's it. I love living in Somerset. I love going to the coast, because I've never had that growing up really, growing up near a seaside or a coastal sort of location. So I do like going for a walk along the beach in my boring old age on a Sunday, especially if we won. One of the things I do really like doing is coaching the young players in the academy. I think I have to do that in my spare time, obviously. And I really enjoy that. That gives me a lot of energy. I always come out of those sessions, a lot of energy and very fulfilled, that I've been able to work with young players, so very good. What's your favourite part about Yeovil, as in the actual town? That's from Samuel Harvey. The football club is really all I've seen. Apart from popping into the town a couple of times and eating tamburinos, we had our Christmas do in a restaurant in the town centre with Scott and the other staff. That was very nice. Nuffield, where the players go, been there a few times. I haven't been out. I don't really have time. I live about 45 minutes away off the M5, so I don't really ever have time to go into Yeovil. Sometimes I get in early and I quickly nip into Cafe Nero and in the town centre and grab a quick coffee, but that's it. Embarrassingly enough, I'm embarrassed to say really, I've not really spent too much time. Maybe I should. Maybe I'll wait until we get promoted and then probably get a better reaction than if we'd lost a couple. So yeah, hopefully the first time I go around the whole town's on on the old open top, and we have a bit of a parade on promotion. So hopefully. What do you order at the chippy? Fish and chips. I don't stray from that. Go to a chip shop, you order fish and chips. People who order pies and sausages I don't get that. Pies and sausage from fish and chip shops. Go to a fish and chip shop, you order fish and chips. Dead simple, that one. Could you do a video message for Tone Youth Under 9s? Tone Youth Under 9s, hello, hope you're all well. Keep practicing. Even if you've got to go in the garden and keep the ball up or kick it against the wall, drive your parents mad, keep doing that. Thanks for supporting us if you support us. Keep enjoying the game. Hope you get through this tough period. Do your work when mum and dad say. Do Joe Wicks's video every morning. That's very good. And hello, that's from Dylan Fern. Who's been the standout performer in the squad this season, in your opinion? From Harrison East. I think Wilkinson's been very, very good. And I think it's a little bit of a biased view because I've seen a real change in Luke. As in his resilience and his determination. He obviously has a very close connection with Somerset, and I think that's helped him coming home. But I think Wilkinson and Collins as a pair at centre are actually, when I think of the whole spine of the team, they've been very good. You can't, I couldn't miss out Murph, really, all the goals he scored. So all the way down the middle of the team, Charlie Lee, they've been very good. I think when Wilkinson's at his very best with Collins, there's no one that can handle them two in this league, that's for sure. And in the league above, I believe that. I really believe there'd be a very strong pair. If you put them two in your team last year, I think it's a very, very different story. Very different story. One, your views on how the season should then be completed. The season's got to be completed, in my view. It's not a season. You can't null and void it. How can they justify all the money that's been spent on the team, the wages, the money you've spent as supporters coming and watching for the journey? It just has to be. It doesn't matter when it's completed. Let's get everyone healthy again. Let's get everyone back to their day job and the really, really important things. But I think it has to be completed, even if it means next season is January to November. It doesn't matter when the season has to be in terms of the calendar. It just play your games and get the season done. Eventually, it will come back round, and we'll get back to normal. So, but in my opinion, it's got to be completed. I haven't worked hard. I ain't taken, the plaudits as well as the criticisms over 37 games or whatever we've done, 38, 37 games for it to not be finished. I think it's got to be finished. It's just my view, though. Might not be the club's view. Scott might be looking at it now thinking, oh, shut up, you idiot. I don't like it. But I think we're pretty similar on that. I think we're very similar on that. And the hardest one at last, is the hardest question. So Ryan, who put this on Twitter, is the relationship between you and Scott better than the owner you've encountered before? The answer is yes. The answer is definitely yes. I work for lots of owners now. I learned an awful lot from Phil Wallace at Stevenage. Was ridiculously good to myself and my family. Really looked after us. I thought I did all right by him. Made him a couple of mil. We had a couple of, we had a playoff run in my 2.5 years. Got him out of relegation 1 year, or the club out of relegation, not Phil out of relegation. But learned an awful lot about organisation of a business, organisation of all these things that are transferable in any walk of life. I learned a lot. Learned a lot from Phil. The relationship with me and Scott is very good. It's very good. It's very good. One, because we've done all right. We've won quite a few games, and that's always, improves the dynamic between an owner and a manager, generally speaking. Whether it's our similar ages, whether we've come in as the new kind of people at the club. But all I can say is he's been magnificent to me. I think the biggest thing you can ask for as a manager from the owner is emotional support. And his support, especially when we've had dips in performance. His support's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. very calculated, very emotionally intelligent, which I can't say that for all the owners I've worked for. And we've got a very good relationship, and we talk a hell of a lot. We talk a hell of a lot, and we talk a hell of a lot because, you know, I believe I like talking to him. My mother likes talking to me. I always ask for money, so he probably hates talking to me. But we have a very good relationship, and, you know, I really want to, you know, part of my motivation with Yeovil is not just purely selfish and me, or just for the supporters. I know how hard he's worked. I know, you know, what he's had to kind of get through in order to restructure the club, and I'd love to get us up for him. It would be, you know, that would be a special moment, a very special moment. But he's a fantastic owner. He's a really, really good chap, and I think, you know, wherever you go to work, you want your boss to be a decent person, and he's a very, very decent person so far. But Ryan, you might have got me the sack for that one, so.